Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from Rao's IAS Study Circle. Join the official Telegram channel of Rao's IAS Study Circle to stay updated and get all the materials on the Telegram. The link to the channel can be found in the description box. Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading from the UPSC Civil Services examination perspective. Now today let's take up the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 12 February 2022. The news to be discussed has been displayed on the screen and timestamping for these has been provided in the description box below. So on this note, let's start our today's discussion from our Civil Services examination perspective.
Pre-Pareekshan 2 is live. It went live at 9 a.m. today morning, that is 11th of February, and will remain live till 9 p.m. on 13th of February. And it is a very right time for you to understand where you are actually leading in terms of preparation for 2022 prelims. What you will get from this particular test, let Naweed throw some light on that.
Yes, sir. So this test is very important because this is a real UPSC simulation for you, and this will provide you an opportunity to attempt for this test. Now, through this test, we will give you an all India ranking at the national level. This will help you in identifying your strong and weak areas. Further, we will also provide you a comprehensive analysis of your performance as compared to the top performers, that is the top 5 performers.
Now, apart from that, you will also get a live analysis as well. And live analysis will actually help you understand the knowledge gaps that are there in your preparation, which you can actually fill so that when you take the examination on 5th of June, you ace the competition. This is an initiative from Rao's IAS where we want to help you in order to improve your performance and ensure that your name is there in the list of people who are going to appear for the mains examination. The link to register for this test is there in the description. All those people who are already registered on eLearn platform, they do not have to do anything else. They have to just go to eLearn and it will be there on the feed wall. Take care, all the best, and do attend the test.
Now the first news to be taken up appears as the lead article on page number 6 written by M.K. Narayanan, who was the former National Security Advisor of India. Now he writes, taking a bite out of cyber threats. Rather than wait for the big bang cyber attack, nations and institutions ought to be prepared, that is, should be prepared for a rash of cyber strikes, that is, a rash of low or medium range cyber strikes. So the whole gist of this article is based on this idea that institutions and countries of this world should not wait for a big bang or a big cyber attack to take place, and rather make strategies to prevent small and medium range cyber attacks. Now in this article, the author has highlighted the threat from various cyber attacks such as ransomware, stuckness swarm, and has also stated that because of increased work from home scenario because of COVID-19, there is a chance of greater cyber attack every 10 seconds. And it is in this regard, the author has recommended that both the companies, that is institutions, organizations, along with the countries should prepare for these small and medium range cyber attacks. Further, the author has also suggested that majority of cyber attacks are directed at small and medium-sized business organizations. And most targeted areas for cyber attacks are healthcare sector, education and research sector, communication sector, and even government institutions and agencies. So based on these understandings that there is a lot of cyber attacks taking place on small and medium-sized business organizations, so both countries and institutions must not wait for a big bang cyber attack, but rather should prepare for these low or medium range cyber attacks, which is constantly taking place across various sectors of the economy. So in this regard, the author has highlighted about the threat of cyber attack in this article. What are the existing solutions such as Secure Access Service Edge, that is SASE, CASB, that is Cloud Access Security Broker, SWG, that is Secure Web Gateway, and also the author has highlighted about Zero Trust model. So we'll try to understand about all these solutions. However, the author has suggested that these existing solutions are not enough and there is something extra which needs to be done. So let's understand this article from the perspective of GS paper 3 as it gets covered under the aspect of science and technology, awareness in the fields of information technology, and also challenges to internal security through communication networks and also basics of cyber security. Hence, this topic becomes very important from the perspective of both prelims and mains examination. Now, based on our discussion so far, let's go through these two practice questions. The terms Zero Trust Model, Secure Web Gateway, and Secure Access Service Edge has been in news and can be associated with. Options are CERN, particle physics, cryptocurrency, humanoids, and cyber attacks. And this question says that which of the following pairs are correctly matched. Options are ransomware, attacks industrial and energy producing organizations, Stuxnet worm steals and blocks personal data, phishing, fraudulent email to obtain the victim's personal and financial information, and web crawler, which copies all the visited pages for later processing by a search engine. So the question is, select the correct answer using the code given below. So from a UPSC perspective, similar questions have been asked by UPSC in the past. So in this regard, you need to know exactly about ransomware, Stuxnet worm, phishing, and also web crawler, as these terms have been used in this particular article, also with respect to Zero Trust Model, Secure Web Gateway, Secure Access Service Edge. So let's first understand these important terms, then we'll try to find out the answers along with further discussion on this article. So Secure Access Service Edge is a security framework which converges security and networking connectivity into a single cloud delivered platform. So this converges this into a single cloud delivered platform. And this is done to enable secure and fast cloud transformation. Further, it says that cloud-based enterprise security framework has been designed to address network and security challenges. So basically this model is a cloud-based model. Now here the author in this article has suggested that the given cloud-based model as a preventive strategy against cyber attack will not be enough in the increased cyber attacks which is taking place, especially on the low and medium ranged organization. Further, the article also mentions about Cloud Access Security Broker or CASB. So this is a software which acts as an intermediary between users, that is between this, and cloud service provider, that is this institution. It further says that it allows organizations to identify security gaps and extend reach of their security policies from existing on-premises infrastructure to cloud. So whatever loopholes exist between their on-site premises and the cloud-based data, they fixes such loopholes and in the process also creates new policies for cloud-specific content so that whatever data is available on the cloud, these data remains secure. So this is how Cloud Access Security Broker works. Now this article also mentions about Security Web Gateway. Now it prevents the internal network of an organization or an institution from an outside internet traffic which may disturb the functioning of this particular internal network. So it says that it prevents the unsecured internet traffic from entering an internal network of an organization and therefore prevents both the employees and also the users of the particular application from being infected by this outside internet traffic, which may be a virus or a malware. And this one is Zero Trust Model. So as the name suggests, it does not trust any person and only trust those person whom this software can identify. So it says that it is a network security model based on strict identity verification process. So there is an identity verification process. Only when a person or a user is identified, only then that person can have access to various kind of data or information. So it says only authenticated and authorized users and devices can access applications and data. So there can be a particular laptop which is authorized to access certain information for a particular company, and by using only such laptops can a person use such data from the organization. So it helps to protect users and applications from advanced threats on the internet. So these are the various steps which are adopted by various institutions and also governments across the world. Now you need to know about these important terms as questions can be asked by UPSC in the prelims examination, and also you can use these terms as an example if it is asked in the question in the mains examination in science and technology or if a question is asked on threats from cybersecurity. So based on our discussion so far, the answer to this particular question becomes D, that is cyber attack. Now coming back to this question talks about few important terms such as ransomware, Stuxnet worm, phishing and web crawler. Now as the article suggests that institutions should not wait for a big bang cyber threat, but rather should focus on the small cyber attacks which is taking place, and a majority of these small cyber attacks are in the form of ransomware. Now this ransomware is a type of computer virus that threatens to publish victims' personal data or perpetually blocks access to it unless a ransom is paid. So here the correct option for ransomware becomes this, that is, it steals and blocks personal data of users. Now these can be any kind of personal data, health related data, financial data, etc. And in this regard, the author has said that of late there has been increasing use and intensity of ransomware attacks. So we need to identify the soft targets on which ransomware attacks is taking place on a continuous basis, and in this process we need to provide for us security measures where we can secure and prevent our data from any further leakage. Now regarding Stuxnet worm, the article starts with respect to this particular virus. Now this was a computer virus which originally aimed at Iranian nuclear facility way back in 2010, and since then it has spread to other industrial and energy producing organizations. Now this was also used to attack the Saudi institutions producing oil. So this virus is capable of crippling the hardware of an energy producing organizations including oil and gas. So in this regard, this becomes the correct option, that is, attacks industrial and energy producing organization. Now both phishing and web crawler has been correctly identified. So phishing can be said to be use of fraudulent emails, generally in our spams, to obtain a victim's personal and financial data or financial information. And web crawler refers to a program which copies all the visited pages for later processing by a search engine. So whatever web pages you would have gone through, so this web crawler can copy all those visited pages, and later these visited pages can be processed by a search engine, creating a sort of a pattern for an individual or organization. So we need to know about all these terms related to cyber attack, mostly from our prelims perspective. So as you can understand that protection of data becomes one of the major aspect of cyber security, and it is in this regard the author has repeatedly stated that we need to protect data at all levels, including for low level organization and also medium level organization. So coming to the answer of this particular question, the question was select the correct answer using the code given below. So here the correct answer becomes C, that is 3 and 4, as 1 and 2 are incorrectly matched. So now coming to the last part of the discussion, where the author suggests various measures as to what needs to be done in order to prevent these constant cyber attacks. So the author has stated that the government and the institutions of the world need not wait for a major cyber attack to take place, and accordingly take small steps to address regular attacks which has been taking place for the last few years. And in this process, there is also need for a detailed study to identify low and medium level cyber attacks which has taken place for the last 10 years. So this is one important suggestions made by the author in order to understand the pattern of the cyber attacks which has taken place on a lower level. Further, the author has suggested that companies across sectors such as healthcare, infrastructure, energy, electricals, etc., all of them need to have adequate protection and cybersecurity measures in place to deal with any future cyber attacks. And both nations, that is governments of the world, and institutions should actively prepare for a number of small cyber attacks, especially ransomwares, which effectively targets data. So there is a need to prioritize data defense or defense of data over everything else, as has been suggested by the author, because in the present circumstances, data has become of considerable importance. Further, the author has also suggested to strengthen networks and data structures so that a company is well prepared even if cyber attacks take place. Now, this can be done by preparing a decentralized and dense networks. Now, in a decentralized network, data is stored or split into various structures, and it becomes almost impossible to retrieve back data from these multiple pieces. Now next, companies can go for a hybrid cloud structures whereby information can be stored across public cloud and also on private cloud. So the hybrid cloud structures gives a best of both the world. Further, the companies must also have a backup process and plans, and in this process, data must be stored both online and also in a physical or analog format. So in this way, even if a cyber attack takes place, then all the data will not be lost at a given point of time, and still certain data will be available through physical or analog format. So there is a need to store data both in an online form and also in physical or analog format. Further, there is also need for planning and proper training of employees for network failures as to what should be done if there is a network failure or if there is a cyber attack. And in the process, both government agencies and companies and private organizations must ensure building capacity within networks to survive any future cyber attacks. So these are some of the important steps which has been highlighted in this article, both as a preventive and remedial strategy or steps which must be taken to prevent future cyber attacks. Now this topic of cyber attack is very important. As you can see, questions have been asked both in 2021 and in 2020. The question asked recently in GS paper 3 was, keeping in view India's internal security, analyze the impact of cross-border cyber attacks. Also discuss defensive measures against these sophisticated attacks. This question carried 10 marks. The question asked in 2020 was, discuss the different types of cyber crimes and measures required to be taken to fight the menace. This question also carried 10 marks. So repeatedly, UPSC has asked questions on cyber attacks. So in this regard, this article becomes very important under GS paper 3. With this, let's take up the next article of discussion. The next news to be taken up appears on page number 1 and also on page number 12. Now it says that index of industrial production growth slowed to 0.4% in December 2021. And the drag has been in the sector of manufacturing, capital goods and also consumer durables. Now a month prior to December, that is in November 2021, the growth as per IIP was at 1.3%. So the biggest drag came from manufacturing sector at 0.1%. Now this is important because manufacturing accounts for 77.6% of the weight of IIP. Now capital good is generally an indicator of investments, and this also contracted by 4.6% in December, followed by consumer durables which contracted by 2.7%. Now this news becomes important from your prelims perspective mainly as you can be asked as to which institution publishes these index of industrial production. So the index of industrial production measures the quantum of changes in the industrial production in an economy, and for this purpose the base year which has been taken for IIP index is 2011 and 12. Now this index is compiled and published monthly, that is it is published every month by National Statistical Office under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Now the index of industrial production has been classified as sectoral classification and also used base classification. So under sectoral classification it says that industrial production for the purpose of IIP is divided into 3 sectors. These 3 important sectors are mining, manufacturing and electricity. And in these 3, the highest weightage is given to manufacturing. So please remember this important fact from your prelims perspective, that the highest weightage among mining, manufacturing and electricity in the IIP index has been given to manufacturing. Now with respect to use-based classification, the goods have been divided into primary goods, capital goods, infrastructure or construction goods, intermediate goods, consumer durables and consumer non-durables. Now the primary goods are such goods which are directly obtained from natural resources, and these goods are then further processed and consumed. Example, ores, minerals, electricity, etc. Now, capital goods can be said to be any plant, machinery, or any goods which is used for further investment. For example, boilers, air and gas compressors, and engines including internal combustion or even diesel engines. Now, the infrastructure or construction goods includes those finished goods which are mainly used in the infrastructure industry or construction industry. Example, paints, cement, cables, bricks, wires, etc. Intermediate goods. Now, such goods are used as a byproduct for further production. For example, cotton yarn or plywood, as cotton is used to produce cloth. So it says that any good or product produced as incomplete product or which goes as input in production for further finishing or forms a part of a product. Consumer durables includes products directly used by consumers and having a longer durability, that is more than 2 to 3 years. Example, pressure cooker, air conditioners, tires, fridge, etc. And consumer non-durables, such products which are directly used by the consumer but cannot be preserved for a longer period of time. Example, cooking oil such as soybean oil, skimmed milk, vegetables, etc. And among these different goods which are classified based on their usage, the highest weightage is that of the primary goods and lowest weightage is that of the capital goods. Now this again becomes important from your prelims perspective. Now based on our discussion, this becomes your third practice question, which says, with reference to index of industrial production, consider the following statements. First, it is published by Office of Economic Advisor under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Now, as we have already discussed, that it is compiled and published monthly by National Statistical Office under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. And the second statement is, amongst different categories of goods, IIP gives highest weightage to primary goods. Now, we have also seen this aspect, that highest weightage is definitely given to the primary goods. So, such type of questions can be asked in your prelims examination based on these important facts about index of industrial production. Now, please do not confuse index of industrial production with that of index of 8 core industries. Now, index of 8 core industries is published by the Office of Economic Advisor under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And the 8 core industries based on their weightage or according to their weightage are the following. Petroleum refinery products, highest weightage as of 28.4%, followed by electricity, steel, coal, crude oil, natural gas, cement and fertilizers. So please try to differentiate between index of industrial production as compared to index of 8 core industries. And the index of 8 core industries is published by the Office of Economic Advisor under Ministry of Commerce and Industry, whereas index of industrial production is published under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation by National Statistical Office. Thus, this topic mainly becomes important from the Indian economy perspective under GS paper 3. With this, let's move to the next article of discussion. Now, let's take these two news appearing on page number 1 and on page number 10. It says, Quad meet focuses on Indo-Pacific ties. However, divisions between the countries emerge over Russia and Myanmar. Now, this news on page number 10 says that US will continue to support India's rise and regional leadership as a part of its new Indo-Pacific strategy, mainly to counter China. So both these news becomes important mainly from the perspective of GS paper 2 under international relations. Now yesterday, Jatin sir discussed in detail about the Indo-Pacific issues. So today let's go through the joint statement which has been issued by the foreign ministers of Quad at the 4th Quad Ministerial meeting, and also let us go through some of the important highlights of the new Indo-Pacific strategy which has been announced by the United States. Now, one of the major highlights of the joint statement issued by the foreign affairs ministers of these countries of Quad was the fact of highlighting about terrorism and also about China's action in East and South China Sea. So in this regard, let us go through the various aspects which has been highlighted in the joint statement issued by the foreign ministers of Australia, India, Japan and United States. So the first aspect highlighted here is that it reaffirmed Quad's commitment to supporting the Indo-Pacific countries' efforts to advance a free and open Indo-Pacific region. It further mentions about the fact that Quad continues to support ASEAN partners to advance the practical implementation of ASEAN's outlook on the Indo-Pacific. So according to the Quad's member, these outlooks principles are fundamental to regional stability and prosperity, and it will be key to guiding the region's economic and political future. Now, even the sub-regional mechanism, including the Mekong sub-region economic cooperation, was also highlighted. Further, in the joint statement, aspects of vaccine diplomacy was also highlighted, as Quad aims to provide 1 billion doses of COVID vaccine by the end of 2022, which is being manufactured at Biological E Limited facility in India. Now, the Quad countries are also working to identify and address vaccine gaps and also any barriers due to gender, disability, or any social inequality. As Quad members aim to ensure safe, effective, affordable, and quality assured vaccination coverage in such areas which are very hard to reach. Further, the Quad countries aim to address various challenges pertaining to humanitarian assistance and disaster response, maritime security, counter-terrorism, countering disinformation, and also cyber security. So the members of Quad have focused or rather highlighted on rules-based maritime law, which is based on the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And the Quad members are also committed to meet any kind of challenges which goes against this United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas. And here the focus is mainly the issues in South and East China Sea, mainly highlighting about the role of China in these areas. Further, regarding the security and peace of Indo-Pacific region, the Quad is exchanging information on ever-evolving threats and is also working with Indo-Pacific countries and also at the multinational forum to counter all forms of terrorism and violent extremism. Next, Quad members have also highlighted about the aspect of terrorism, and they have said that all the countries denounce the use of terrorist proxies. Now here they have focused on Pakistan, saying that use of terrorist proxies for cross-border terrorism, and have urged countries to work together to eliminate terrorist safe havens, disrupt terrorist networks, and also their infrastructure and financial channels which sustains these terrorist activities, and also to halt cross-border movement of terrorists. In this regard, the joint statements calls all countries to ensure that their territory is not used to launch terror attacks, and also to bring to justice the perpetrators of such attacks. Further, the Quad members has also focused on the aspect of cyber security in the Indo-Pacific region. Now here the member have stated that they aim to coordinate efforts to assist partners across the Indo-Pacific region to address the growing threat of ransomware. Now this we have already discussed regarding attack on various kinds of data, by strengthening capacity building to ensure resilient cyber security and counter cyber crime. Further, the members also stated that they are committed to promote international peace and stability in cyberspace and help build capacity of regional countries to implement the UN voluntary framework for responsible state behavior in cyberspace. Next, the Quad stated that it believes in a rule-based multilateral trading system where the WTO is at its core. So the Quad members stated that it reaffirms its commitment to upholding and strengthening the rules-based multilateral trading system with WTO at its core. And the Quad is also opposed to any coercive economic policy and practices which runs counter to any of the rules which has been established under the WTO mechanism. Next, the Quad members also focused on the aspect of clean energy, and in this regard they welcomed Australia's proposal to host an Indo-Pacific Clean Energy Supply Chain Forum in mid-2022. Further, recognizing the strength of people and people-to-people ties, United States has welcomed the new exchange programs in the fields of cyber security, maritime security, countering disinformation, and promoting transparency in governance. Now, these are some of the highlights of the joint statement issued by the foreign ministers of the Quad countries. Now, coming to this news on page number 10, which says we'll continue to support India's rise and regional leadership. The whole idea of an Indo-Pacific strategy for United States is not only to counter China with respect to its increasing coercion in the Indo-Pacific region, for example, be it economic coercion on Australia, military coercion along India's LAC, that is line of actual control, or even pressure on Taiwan, or tensions along the East and South China Sea. So based on these understandings and also the fact that US wants to work with like-minded democracies, the US Indo-Pacific strategy has these 5 important highlights. It talks about a free and open Indo-Pacific region, a connected Indo-Pacific region, a prosperous Indo-Pacific region, secured, and it also talks about resilience. So in this regard, let's go through these important highlights of Indo-Pacific strategy as proposed by United States, as it has also highlighted role of India and also that of Quad. Now at the East Asia Summit, the President of United States, Joe Biden, had stated that we envision an Indo-Pacific that is open, connected, prosperous, resilient, and secure. And we are ready to work together with each of you to achieve it. That is, each of the like-minded people. So regarding a free and open Indo-Pacific, US has stated that it advances a free and open region, including by investing in democratic institutions, free press, and a vibrant civil society. It further says that it aims to improve fiscal transparency in the Indo-Pacific, to expose corruption and derive reform in the region. It further emphasized on the implementation of international law, and it stated that it aims to ensure region's seas and skies are governed and used as per the international law. Now, this aspect was also reinstated by the Ministerial meet at Quad. It further mentions about advancing common approaches to critical and emerging technologies, internet, and also cyberspace. So it also talks about cybersecurity and threats of cyber attack. Now, regarding the second point of having a connected Indo-Pacific, the US strategy highlights that a free and open Indo-Pacific can only be achieved if we build collective capacity for a new age. And US aims to build collective capacity within and beyond the region, including by deepening their 5 regional treaty alliances with Australia, Japan, Republic of Korea, Philippines, and Thailand. Now here Republic of Korea means South Korea. Strengthening relationships with leading regional partners including India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mongolia, New Zealand, Singapore, Taiwan, Vietnam, and the Pacific Islands, contributing to an empowered and unified ASEAN. Now the Quad also highlighted the significance and importance of ASEAN, especially with respect to peace in the Indo-Pacific region, strengthening the Quad and delivering on its commitments. So the US also believes in strengthening the Quad and also sees Quad as a measure to counter China, support India's continued rise and regional leadership. So this becomes another important aspect of the Indo-Pacific strategy of United States, as it has supported India's continued rise in the region, mainly to counter China. Next, partnering to build resilience in the Pacific Islands, forging connections between Indo-Pacific and the Euro-Atlantic, and expanding US diplomatic presence in the Indo-Pacific, particularly in Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. So a lot of focus has been on India, Southeast Asia, and also on strengthening of Quad. Now, with respect to having a prosperous Indo-Pacific region, US has proposed an Indo-Pacific economic framework through which it aims to develop new approaches to trade that meets higher standards of environment and labor, govern digital economies and cross-border data flows according to open principles, including through a new digital economy framework, advance resilient and secure supply chains which are diverse, open and predictable, and make shared investments in decarbonization and clean energy. So, US has also mentioned about investment in decarbonization and clean energy. Further, it has mentioned about promoting free, fair, and open trade and investment through the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, and closing or filling the region's infrastructure gap through Build Back Better World with G7 partners. So the US also aims to involve G7 partners in the overall prosperity and development of the Indo-Pacific region. Now, regarding the security of the Indo-Pacific region, US states that it aims to bolster Indo-Pacific security, drawing all instruments of power to deter aggression and to counter coercion by advancing integrated deterrence in the region, deepening cooperation and enhancing interoperability with allies and partners, including India, maintaining peace and stability across Taiwan Strait, innovating to operate in rapidly evolving threat environments, including space, cyberspace, and critical and emerging technology areas. So cyberspace have been given a lot of prominence in the Indo-Pacific strategy and also by Quad members. Further, strengthening extended deterrence and coordination with Republic of Korea and Japanese allies, and also pursuing the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, continuing to deliver on AUKUS, expanding US Coast Guard presence and cooperation against other transnational threats, and working with Congress to fund the Pacific Deterrence Initiative and Maritime Security Initiative. So these two initiatives becomes important. Further, the strategy has also focused on the aspect of environment. It says that US aims to build regional resilience to 21st century transnational threats by working with allies and partners to develop 2030 and 2050 targets, strategies, plans and policies which are consistent with limiting global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So clearly there's a lot of focus on climate change and the aspects and impact of global warming. Reducing regional vulnerability to impacts of climate change and environmental degradation, and ending the COVID-19 pandemic and bolstering the global health security. So the focus is on environment and health. So these are some of the important highlights of the 5 principles which has been proposed by United States as a part of its Indo-Pacific strategy, which includes free and open Indo-Pacific region, a connected region, prosperous region, secure region, and it has also focused on the aspect of resilience by focusing on climate change and global warming. So this news becomes important mainly from the perspective of GS paper 2 under international relations, especially regarding bilateral relations of India, United States, Australia and Japan. And also regarding Quad as a multilateral institution, as questions have been asked in the past by UPSC on Quad. The last news to be taken up appears on page number 10 as well. It says Navy's Milan to bring together 46 countries. Now Milan is a multilateral naval exercise, and this year, that is Milan 2022, will see the highest number of countries participating. So this multilateral naval exercise started way back in 1995 in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now for the first time, 4 navies participated in the exercise, namely Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Thailand and Singapore. Now this is a biennial exercise, which means it happens every 2 years. Now the Milan 2022 has been scheduled at Visakhapatnam, and the theme for this year's exercise is camaraderie, cohesion and collaboration. Now here the participating navies will discuss common maritime concerns and solutions, and this will be conducted from 25th February till 4th of March. And an important aspect is that even the Quad members, that is Australia, Japan and United States, will also participate in this multilateral naval exercise. So this news mainly becomes important from your prelims perspective, as questions regarding this multilateral naval exercise can be asked in the prelims examination. So with this, let's take up the question for the day. Now based on our discussion, this becomes your practice question for the day. It says, consider the following statements regarding Milan exercise. First, it is an annual naval exercise conducted by Indian Navy. Second, the theme for Milan 2022 is camaraderie, cohesion and collaboration. Third, Milan exercise started in 1995, which saw participation from the navies of Sri Lanka, Singapore, Thailand and Indonesia. So based on this, the question is, which of the statements given above are correct? So here the options are A, 1 and 2 only, B, 1 and 3 only, C, 2 and 3 only, and D, 1, 2 and 3. Now coming to the answer of yesterday, the question was, which of the following may be considered by RBI during its monetary policy formulation? Options are inflation, balance of payment, demand in the economy, core sector growth, stock market performance. Now here all of these statements are correct, hence the correct answer becomes D, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So with this, we come to an end to today's discussion. Thank you for watching DNS.